The following takes place between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m.
We take animals and we put them in these situations where, you know, like look at mad cow disease.
Right.
Okay. Once again, we're talking about another type of animal. Cows. How did they get mad cow disease?
Well, that's interesting. You know, this is kind of cool. Mad cow disease in cows.
I like it when you get all excited. Like, this is cool. Let's go. Come on.
So do you know what mad cow disease is? It's called BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy. See, I love saying that. That's kind of a cool name, isn't it? Anyway, humans. Do you know what the equivalent disease of cattle is in humans called? Have you ever heard of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease?
Yes, I have.
That's mad cow disease in people.
And a lot of times...
And they believe that was due to cannibalism. Remember, in Africa, people, these tribes that were cannibalistic, were getting a lot of this Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is also very similar to a disease in sheep called scrapie. So all three diseases are very similar diseases.
But you know what the interesting thing is, and I read an article, this was last week, the article said that a lot of people that are suffering from Alzheimer's in the United States are actually misdiagnosed with some of these diseases, like the mad cow disease and other diseases, because they're the exact same symptoms.
Well, they look the same. I mean,
and you can't test it until after the fact.
Right.
So
that's the scary part.
And they
about
said
viruses.
about 20% of people that are suffering right now from Alzheimer's actually have mad cow disease.
Really?
Yes, in the United States.
Didn't know that.
But because it's the exact same symptoms.
Right.
You know, tell me, I mean, just off the top of your head, tell me what you know about mad cow. And because, I mean, obviously when this first came out, I was at a young age when this first came out, and all I remember is, okay, it was this British, it was a ban on European meat.
Right.
And even to this day, you know, if you want to give blood, if you want to do anything, and they ask you, have you been in Europe or anything like that, and if you are, you're disqualified.
Been a cow farmer.
You can't do it whatsoever. Yeah. So tell me what you know about this, and how it affects the animal. And the thing is that scares me is mad cow disease. Do you think that could mutate and go to dogs or cats?
You never know.
And
you never know. I mean, they've never proven it. That's the problem with viruses is they mutate. And you don't know what's happening until sometimes it's reached epidemic proportions. Yeah. So it's tough.
It's where we're at right now.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
It's scary when you think about this.
It's a total neurological disease in cows, in people, in sheep. Essentially, it goes straight to your brain, and it kind of causes cheddar cheese brain, as they say. I mean, you literally, like Alzheimer's, it eats away at your brain, and so you become disoriented and sometimes aggressive. It's really gross.
It's absolutely
actually, you know what I think? Mad cow disease. When I see it, it almost looks like cows with rabies. Very similar. Like they both have very, it's a lot of head and facial movements. Rabies. That's one of the places it likes to go is the head and neck region. Once you get infected with, and there's a classic example of a virus that can be transmitted from animals to people.
Well, rabies. You know what? We're going to take a break. When we come back from break, I want to get your insight on rabies because I think rabies are probably one of the scariest things that I have to think of because
especially here in Southern Ontario.
Yeah, and from the research that I've done, and I want to know who's at risk of rabies, and I want to know what can possibly happen. And we're going to get that information about rabies in a couple seconds on Animal House Radio. 416-785-0680, info@animalhouseradio.com. Right here, right now on Animal House Radio. I've got a mask on, protecting myself from the H1N1 outbreak. I don't care what people think.
That's good, because I won't tell you what I think.
I know what you think. I don't care what people think. A couple of notes before we keep going on. We're going to the Purina Hall of Fame on Monday. We're going to be introducing a little cat by the name of Nemo. Congratulations.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be first thing on a Monday morning, nice and early, bright. And, I can't breathe in this thing. And also, tomorrow night, at the Brickyard Barbecue, Aaron Amadeus, that's my music name, AaronAmadeus.com, performing an hour and 45-minute show for the first time in a year. Brand new stuff from the second album. It's going to be wicked. But before we take Nicola on the line, let's talk a little bit more about rabies because that's the big one. Other than the flu that's coming out right now, let's talk rabies.
What's neat about rabies is if you go look at numbers, the number of rabies cases, not necessarily in humans, because in humans actually very low. Thankfully, not many humans have died from rabies in Canada in the last 60 years. I think it's been something like 80 people in total. It's not a lot. And the last person who died from rabies, I think, was in 2002. So thankfully, it doesn't happen a lot, but there's a lot of rabies in animals. And every year, at least in Ontario, Ontario is always number one. Quebec is always number two, and Manitoba is always number three. And the thing that I find fascinating about rabies is the number one transmitter of rabies in Ontario is always the bat. Always. Number one case. Number one.
I am the Batman.
Yes. There you go. Okay. Thanks, Richmond. In Quebec...
it is the francophone.
No, in Quebec, it's the raccoon.
Yeah, you know what? And I can attest to
And
that.
in Manitoba, it's the skunk.
And the raccoons, we would always say to people, they were like, "Oh, there's a raccoon out during the day," and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, look, it's probably just getting food for its kids." And I'm like, "No, if you see a raccoon out in the day, run." That's what we used to tell, because run.
But there's so many raccoons in Toronto, you think that would be the number one. But bats is apparently the number one transmitter of rabies.
Can I tell you a secret though?
What's that?
I'm Batman.
Okay.
No, but seriously, I want to tell you something.
Okay,
in front of the millions of people that are listening right now.
What?
I see dead people. But they don't know they're dead.
This guy has got some issues. Time to go.
Give me some more of that little whatever.
Let's get Nicola on the phone
Yeah.
so she can smack you around a little bit.
It's former co-host of Animal House Radio, Nicola. What's going on, darling?
Former co-host.
Former, yeah.
Former. I was a guest. Former sounds so very permanent.
Well, I fired you. No, I'm just kidding. No. You're a third co-host on this show. Anytime you want to come on, you're always welcome to be on the program.
I will be right there.
Did you have a good time last week?
I had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, even with you there, it was still good.
You know, I'm here. I got to tell you, at the station right now, I'm wearing my N51 mask, and I'm being protected right now from the H1N1 flu.
Excellent.
I think I am. I don't know.
Right.
I made out with a pig before, so
you know the way you said "right" almost sounded a bit like Dr. Evil there. Right.
Okay.
Right.
$1 billion. So, Nicola, as we do every single week, I'm going to read to you a little something called "Believe It or Not." Believe it or not, sheep. Mike. Believe it or not, sheep outnumber humans in New Zealand 15-1.
Definitely knew that one. Yep, me too.
Knew that.
And I know why those people in New Zealand like those sheep. Believe it or not.
Velcro boots are sold everywhere. Sorry, go ahead.
Believe it or not, lions mate over 50 times a day. That's why my uncle was a lion. And that's why I am the lion. 50 times a day. My goodness.
Well, I gotta tell you, I used to work at the Ponsonby Sheep Research Center, and what I used to find funny is we used to take one ram and put him in with 40 or 50 ewes, and he'd have this crayon thing on his chest, and of course every time he mounted them, he'd get crayon on their backside, and by the end of the day, all these girls would be, have crayon all over them about 3 or 4 times. I mean, these guys were nuts.
They used to...
We should just start doing that with males in general.
Yeah, really.
Well, why not? Here we go. Spotted skunks do handstands before they spray. Did you know that?
Oh, I've encountered a few.
Some species of fish actually have voices.
But can they sing?
Well, that's the thing. Meow, 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 meow.
Speaking of fish, we went to the Vancouver Aquarium when I was at my brother's wedding, and have you ever heard these archer fish that they go spit water at their prey? That is really neat. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen it.
That's really cool. That's a neat thing that fish do. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
Some ribbon worms eat themselves if they can't find any food. Wow, those are like pigs.
How?
Yeah.
What do you call that?
It's like watching the movie Alive. Huh.
Auto-cannibalism, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And 2 more for you. Termites eat wood twice as fast when listening to heavy metal music.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, you want to get out of there quickly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I don't understand how they got that one there, but okay. Now this one is probably good for you and some other people. The average lifespan of a hermit crab is 75 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So watch out with those crabs.